Good morning, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the second part of the financial support to the UK. The 10th part of the second of the 10, or part 10A, if you like. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. Thank you so much. If you have been helping, if you haven't been helping, thank you also for attending today to be part of this family. And this is actually the second part of the video, and I watched the first part as well as this. It's a continuation of these two videos in one. Number 11, part 11, and part 11A. This is part 11A, so that's the explanation. If you watch the other one, this is a continuation, the last part of the first part, talking about financial support in the UK. Financial support in the UK is relevant to everyone who live in the modern world. Especially if you're in Britain, it's extremely important to understand. If you're a young person, if you actually any age, this is not age specific, is universal. You have a problem, you learn how to solve it. That is the standard. The government is closing down, it is giving us back our country. That is called something called freedom. And so if you are a child, you are being free from your parents, you're being free from the state. And in the future, there's something called deschooling. There will be no schooling, there will be no economy, because technology will be available to run society in terms of producing wealth. But we, the human factor, the human component of life, will always stay the same. Therefore, we are left to determine how to live peacefully with technology. If we fail culturally to produce a peaceful living, then technology is going to turn into a weapon of literally mass destruction. And I'm so glad you actually are watching, and we are work in progress. And I see you in the next video. Continue watching this video till the end, and this will be the final of the 11th part. And I hope you enjoy watching this video. Leave a comment below, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and let me know what you think. Click like, click notification bell for more if you enjoy watching this video. And thank you so much. Continue watching. So continue watching, and let us continue to look at the information we have and also we can stop from time to time to reflect on the information we are actually looking at. And obviously, as we continue watching, thank you so much. If you are new, if you have been with me on this channel before, if you are new, continue subscribing to this YouTube channel. And if you have been here before, thank you so much for everything you have done, for being a great support. Work in progress. I'm so excited about the propositions, and let us look at the specifics of what money is given to the British people. Look, watch this video alongside the rest of the video, and I have said in the other videos that I will be posing from time to time to give an analysis of what I think, giving my opinion also in addition to the information, the official information provided, because these are specific material to provide an occasion to discuss what is happening in the United Kingdom in terms of policy. And there is something called universal credit, which is actually a benefit. It is a benefit system in the United Kingdom, which is the universal credit. Universal credit is either standard, and you will usually need to fill in an extra form if you get universal credit, and you can't work and because you are disabled or have health condition. The form is called the Work Capability Questionnaire, or UC 50, Universal Credit 50. We have this talked about this information before. You say it's part of the process of how to claim universal credit. You can get this information online, Government UK or other aspects or other sorts of information. You may not be interested in this topic, but one thing you will be interested in is actually government policy, British UK government policy, because the behavior of the British government and the politics and policy in one place is similar to its behavior elsewhere in terms of healthcare, in terms of even finance, generally business finance, economic policy. So it is a great opportunity for you to engage with the state to understand what the government is doing, because I believe very strongly that the time is now for us to take control of our lives, to be empowered, especially if you're in Africa, but also if you're in the developed world. It's so easy to take a power relationship for granted in the developed world, because the propensity for us to believe that we are free, which we are, comparable to the rest of the world, especially in Africa. You know, there are some form of oppression which are actually hidden, which are subtle, which are now beginning to show the kind of violence of the state is now beginning to show with the advent of the cost of living crisis. I've been talking about this. A lot of people are very happy with what I'm saying. Some people are coaches. And if you comment below, let me know what you think about the cost of living crisis. A lot of people think probably it is meaningless because people are busy with work, people are busy with other things. Maybe if you have a bit of money, you go on holiday to spend, and when you are finished spending, then you come back home to consider the debts. Maybe you are in rent arrears, in council tax arrears. Maybe your credit card is over the roof. You've been borrowing credit to buy a car or furniture, or actually your holiday is also done on credit card, and you come now bombarded with debt. That's when you begin to realize you're probably in a very serious financial situation, and this is something being done by the government. Credit is created by the government. The government is responsible for you being in debt. Government should change the policy to get the British people out of debt by increasing the level of employment. Employment is a very necessary evil, because you see, you working for somebody else, the wealth goes to your employer. And if your employer is a multimillionaire or a multi-billionaire, it's even a more serious relationship because they have absolute power. You work for companies like that. You know, the power trickles down to employee, but there are employees who can be treated very viciously by the ever, you know, overmighty employer, who are actually multi-billionaires and multi-billionaires. These people are actually, what do you call them? they are like a rocket. I don't know how to describe them. I just word fails me to describe powerful people. Some people are so powerful. They access the law. The law has come to be a weapon of oppression, because only the rich can access the law and justice. So there is no justice for people who are poor, who are the majority. If you work for a living, the most, like, a lot of people don't want to be referred to as being poor. That is their problem. Because you see, unless you come to terms with the real world, you can continue to live in the world of fantasy. If you are a multimillionaire and a multi-billionaire, then you are rich. Otherwise, you are not. You are probably not exactly poor in the abject context of poverty. In that you may still have some savings. Maybe you have 10,000, 5,000, 50,000. But my take is that you may be earning £300,000 per annum. A lot of people actually earn £20,000 in the UK. The average earning in the United Kingdom. If they work the average correctly, but the average cannot be worked properly because of the disparity between the higher earning and the lower earning. People who earn well are actually very few. If you ask around carefully, I don't know the statistic, but it's not difficult to look for such a statistic with time and resources. The people who get maybe £100,000 are probably very few, maybe about 20% or even less, probably 5% or even 10%, and even less are actually multi-millionaires. They get maybe $1 million, 3 million, 5 million per annum. These are probably between 10, 5 or even 2%. Even if you are actually an investor, entrepreneur, probably you earn your income is measured in billions, and these are actually even fewer. At the lower, at the middle, see the trap under capitalism is actually the middle class. The middle class are ranging from something like 30,000 to maybe 50,000, 100,000. They feel good generally. But if you are, as I speak now with the cost of living crisis, if you're earning £30,000 take home, I mean, that's net earning. That's a net earning of 30,000. You may only just feel, okay, but you will probably be in debt. Literally being in debt. You can be in debt to the tune of 20,000, 50,000, or even 100,000. If you are buying a property on mortgage, you are probably in debt to the tune of hundreds of thousands of pounds because you need that house to live in. If you have to be in debt to buy a property on a mortgage, people don't realize they don't realize they're seriously in debt. If you lose your job today, tomorrow you will lose your home. You'll be on the street. And if you go to the local authority, they're not going to help you because you may not be described as being someone in need. You have to go private, and if they think you might not be able to pay their rent, they're not going to give you a property. You may have to go and squat somewhere, maybe go to friends and family. Friends and family will only house you for the honeymoon period for a few weeks. And if they know you're in trouble, most friends will leave you. Most families will actually abandon you because we are societies of individuals. The past relations, I don't know how they related at that time. The way humans should actually relate to one another should be how family actually live with one another. If your family member is suffering, you stop and help them. Sometimes wild animals even behave more cooperatively than humans. I'm not really, because now somebody can just kill you on the street. People will stand there and not know what to do. In a typical humanitarian society, somebody trying to kill somebody else, 2 or 4 people are going to go there and wrestle whatever weapon their assailant has to prevent the death or serious injury. But we have been divided by the state, who is determined to rule in the in the policy of divide and rule, and that is a truth. Perhaps also a fact, because sometimes there are factual distortions which actually do not point to the truth. The truth of today's world is almost an illusion, because we talk of the facts. If you don't have the facts, shut up. Regardless of what truth you may have, the truth is meaningless. The truth is nothing without the facts. But you see, there are people who control the facts. Their facts may be informationally accurate, but they don't point to the truth. What we need as communities, as families, as individuals is the truth. You see, the truth is not even in the court, because the court of law depends on the law. How the law defines truth is not really how normal human being. The law is a blunt instrument. It's not a human being. I mean, even the human beings sometimes struggle with the truth, but at least they know the truth. If they're feeling pain in their head, you go to the judge and tell them, I have pain. That's why I wasn't able to go to work. My employer shouldn't have. But that may be truthful, but it's factually irrelevant. Because you see, if you are an employee, you're sick, you have to comply with employment law and principles and practices, policy from your work, the contract, whether written or not. If your employer fires you, you go to court to say, I was sick. Okay, where are the facts? The facts should be legal. You see, because there are laws governing somebody, an employee who is sick. And whether you are sick, your employer can still fire you. Your employer might say, okay, you are sick, but I'm still firing you. Why do you fire me? Why do you fire me? Somebody who is sick cannot work. The employer is not responsible for your sickness. The state is not also responsible for your sickness, because the state used to be responsible by providing sickness benefits. Because you are sick, you can't work. So the government, on the basis of sickness, you are paid. Because now your employer has really asked you to leave, because they have followed the law and they have paid you statutory sick pay, and the period of statutory sick pay is limited. Maybe it's not, you can't be sick forever and expect your employer to pay you forever. When you get statutory sick pay, if it is within your contract statutorily or otherwise, statutory sick pay is actually have to be statutorily applied, because this is based on the statutory aspect of the employment contract. So once that happens, your employer is going to ask you to leave, because he has fulfilled his legal obligation. Those are the facts, and that is also the truth according to the law. But the truth, your truth, is not the same with the truth of the law, because you need work, you need livelihood. You have to take your truth with you, and it's not bother the employer. Don't take your employer to court because of your truth. Your truth is not important. The truth of the law, as the law sees the truth, is what you should pay attention to. It based on the facts, the legal facts of your situation. You are sick, you go to the government, and the government has promised in terms of policy that there is sickness benefit, but you go there and apply for sickness benefit. You don't get it. Even if you are sick to the point of death, you don't get benefit, because the government still wants the doctor to tell them that you are terminally ill and you are going to live for less than a year. And then the government will tell them, okay, the doctor said you are going to die, so we're going to give you benefit now. Otherwise, they don't. They literally don't give you benefit, because they know, the government tells you this individual is very sick, they can't work, the Department of Work will not accept what the doctor says because the government told them not to listen to the doctor. And that is what I'm trying to share here. I can't help but stop to explain to people the significance of what I am trying to say. But I can't just be talking about the government policy without actually examining it. Especially if I'm actually vlogging the way I'm doing. If I'm a YouTuber, I will be acting. Because this type of listening doesn't make sense to most people. So in terms of communication, in terms of trying to produce logic to what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to say, yes, there is help from the government, but it's so difficult to get it that people don't actually get it anymore. So my invitation to the government, which is actually the primary purpose of this exercise, is for the government to change the law so that if people don't work because they are sick, there should be sickness benefit for people who cannot work because of sickness. This should be given to the people. Actually, there shouldn't be, the sickness benefit should be shut down. It's best if it is shut down. Whether it is shut down or kept open, it's the same, because we can have sickness benefit. This is okay. But you see, the problem with benefit is the level of benefit is low. It keeps the British people in poverty. And that should change today. Because Britain is a rich country, and the government has no excuse for keeping the British people poor, especially people who are borrowing money, who work for a living. Even people who sometimes earn £50,000 per annum are extremely poor because they are deeply in debt. And they're not going to get out of debt. They are probably being now asked to leave their home because they didn't pay their rent. They're probably losing their home because they didn't pay their mortgage. And their mortgage is actually a credit, the money they are borrowed to buy their home, which they need to live in. They are not trying to buy a house to show off to friends and family that they have a house. They need those places. Those are their homes. And because the government and the state has failed to provide housing, that is the problem. Continue watching. Thank you so much. So let us continue with this process, looking at universal credit, looking at the sickness element of universal credit, watching this video alongside the rest of the video as we produced, as we have been producing from time to time. And there are people who might have different types of sickness, who may be wanting financial support from the government, and you may be actually getting cancer treatment, and you may be required to actually to fill out the forms. You may be required to understand what the Department of Work and Pension need you to know, and the points you may need to look at, the points and descriptors or from the Department of Pension. This is information given to you to help you to fill out forms which are actually numbered on different pages, as you will find within those forms. If you access the Department of Work and Pension, if you access Gov.uk, or websites such as public website from Citizen Advice, or I think also Shelter. You can check. There are so many organizations connected with the Department of Work and Pension, and you will find this website very useful. There are actually different parts. For example, part 3 would help with giving you information about eating food or drinking, and also you will be guided how to complete the form, and sending the form back, and looking at different segment of the application form. You will continuously be reminded to actually finish and send the form back, so that you don't forget. Especially given if you are actually a sick person and you're struggling with sickness, with poverty also. The information provided are sometimes detailed information to make sure you are supported to fill out the form and send it back, because there are deadlines to the application form of 4 weeks. If you don't return the form, then this may affect your claim. The claim may be shut down, and you may have to claim all over again. The system is complex for somebody who is sick. We have actually discussed this going forward. We will continue to look at this so that we are actually aware about what is involved, and sometimes you may be asked to fill out an extra form, and if you get universal credit, and if you get universal credit and you can't work because you are disabled or have a health condition, and extra form, like we have seen in other materials, would involve things like limited capability for work related activity when we are considered to be very sick, and you need upgrading of your claim so that the sicker you are is considered by the Department of Work and Pension, also evidenced by your doctor. You get more money, and this is how the system works, and that's what I'm trying to take you through. So so the form, the extra form you are requested to fill out is actually universal credit 50 UC50 form. The form is generally called the work capability questionnaire, because normally when you are given questionnaire, this relates to the similar question. It supports the Department of Work and Pension to assess your situation, and the argument for support is based on the government argument for support is based on actually supporting people back into work. And if you claim benefit, the government attitude to giving benefit is to make sure benefit is not there to support people in any other way, but to encourage people back into work. And I've already said, commented on this situation as a matter of policy, that this is the kind of policies the government can actually revisit to modify if it wants to have the British people, because the industry is changing, technology is actually taking work away. As a matter of fact, if you can assess the industry, there is less and not more work, in which case the government should think of increasing, not really reducing, the incident or benefit provision. And the reason, in my opinion, the government is not keen to give money to people is that because of political and ideological reasons, the government across the globe, not just the United Kingdom government, has decided to close down the public sector, and the British people appears to be happy with that. Except my message to the British people is that you need to be cautious, really, when supporting the government when they close down the public sector, because the people to benefit from public sectorial closure are actually the very few at the top who are super rich. If you are a poor person, you need to really engage with your member of parliament to make sure your member of parliament support you adequately by actually engaging with parliament, and also parliament engaging with the government, which should engage with the country to support public sector, to strengthen the public sector, especially the welfare sector. Because the reality is that although a lot of people in this country do not want to depend on benefit, they have their pride. They want to protect their pride to actually work for a living, which is what people actually want. People want to work for a living. They have their dignity, they have their pride to protect. However, there has been the reality versus fantasy, which fantasy actually provide for an illusionary belief that employment or actually self-employment in the small and medium businesses is the roadmap to success, which it is, but it is not, because what it does in a system like we have today, an economic system as we have today, is actually to permanently keep you in poverty. And if you're in poverty, you are sitting back. Any slight crisis in society, you are eliminated from the opportunities immediately. And that is why the government needs to be there for the British people. And the best way for the government to exist is to support the public sector always, through taxation, through borrowing. And those are the primary sources of financing the public sector. When the British people discourages the government to tax or borrow, then they are failing to understand the value of the public sector. And if the British people pay taxes, then the government should actually make sure this money is significantly invested in the public sector, in the social sector in particular, especially the policy aspect of the public sector. It is okay to invest in infrastructure and capital of the public sector, which is part of reform, but equally there should be adequate funding for the NHS. The government normally says there is funding for the National Health Service. Yes, there is, but the vast majority of the money, probably, I don't know the percentage, leave a comment below if you know this percentage, or in the UK, of how much public money goes toward infrastructure and capital. It appears to me most of the money are actually siphoned there. That money goes to the super rich because of privatization. The public sector, the National Health Service has been privatized. The school system has been privatized, which means it is owned now by private companies. Every time the government invests in capital and infrastructure, the money goes not to the poor but to the rich who are already super rich. That is how government has been transferring public money in the pockets of individuals who are now closing down the National Health Service. They are now closing down schools. They are now closing down all the public sector, because if they don't make money as private companies, their philosophy informs them, and also their culture informs them to shut things down. That's why things are being shut down. The Department of Work and Pension are being supplied by private companies. The computer, the infrastructure, the artificial intelligence, for example, those are actually privately run. So government departments across the country is now being run privately. That's why they are closing down. They are laying people off work, and advisors who are actually human-based are now being made redundant. They are losing their jobs. They're losing their jobs to technology. Continue watching. So, continue watching. We are still talking about government policy on the money given to the British people in this country. And I've also looked at how difficult it is to get sickness benefit. Benefit is a source of income, a primary source of income to the British people. It is also employment, which is actually also another source of income to the British people. if you work for living, if you are employed or self-employed, then you are paid because of that. That is a primary source of income. So the problem with poverty is when we fail to maximize income. And for people who are actually on low income, if you're multimillionaires or multi-billionaires, your income is already maximum. So you can actually only maximize it for a different reason, not because of poverty. Because if you don't maximize your income as a worker or as somebody who works for living, and work is class in terms of employment or self-employment in the UK, and because of low level of pay, minimum wage, national minimum wage, national living wage, which I don't know exactly what they are, but they are government policies. My take on the government of the United Kingdom is to get the British people out of poverty by increasing the level of work. If work should pay in the United Kingdom, the level of pay, you see, after tax, every worker in the United Kingdom, whether you are small and medium businesses or whether you are actually employee or worker or whatever, even including 0-hour contract, your total income should be at least £20,000 after tax, and it's a net pay, either in benefit or in employment. Those are actually the basis of our income relationship within the UK. And if the UK does that, it will begin the process of removing British people out of poverty. And the only merit you should be considered is the fact that you are actually poor. You don't have money. Even if you are working, you don't have money. Even if you are not working, you don't have money. If you're not working, you get the full benefit. And if you work part-time, you get the minimum wage with your part-time work. And to make sure, after 1 year of work, you should get a minimum of £20,000 as a net income, either from your work or partly from your work and partly from benefit. It doesn't matter what the name you give to the benefit. Today, we have been talking about universal credit, which is a very complex system. The government can make it complex as much as they like, as long as people can access it easily. The system can be complex, but in terms of application, it has to be simplified. And more advisors and support workers should be actually employed by the Department of Work and Pension to process benefit. If you claim benefit today, the next day you should get benefit immediately, because we have technology. Artificial intelligence is now being deployed at the Department of Work and Pension. The process of accessing benefit should be super fast. It is really totally unbelievably irrelevant. It's complete illogical that you find the British people still waiting for 3 months to access the sickness element of the universal credit. 3 months before they get any money. There is no basis of that. Only a government if the government is on drug, then they can tell the British people that they are suffering from drug addiction. Because you have to have the brain to know that the British people cannot wait for 3 months for sickness benefit, especially if they're sick. And suddenly, if they're going to die before 1 year, if they have less than 1 year to live, then suddenly they get their benefit immediately. How wicked is that? You wait when people are dying, then you start helping them. How wicked is that? Now we are facing elections. It is now the British government is now trying to increase benefit. They're trying to increase minimum wage because election is near. They are trying to now manage the economy, reducing the interest rate and doing all sorts of things. Managing the economy more effectively because they fear losing an election. I mean, how wicked is that? That should be changing. The government should go to school to learn culture, valuing the government, valuing society, valuing the British people in Britain, and valuing foreign people in foreign countries, because Britain is not an island in the political sense or even the economic sense or in any other sense. It may be an island in terms of physical location. But in terms of political and other forms of relationship, the government is the British government is related to America, to Europe, to Africa, to countries in Africa. So there is no saying that Britain is a sovereign state. It is, but what it does should be as an example to the Europeans and to Americans. If the Britain increased the minimum wage to £20, not £20,000 per annum, it's a net income in work and also in benefit. This should be the same, should be level. Because, if you can't work, you can't work. Britain is a rich country, The super rich, who are multimillionaires or multi-billionaires, tell me why they should be multimillionaires and multi-billionaires, other than the rest of the world. I mean, if they're millionaires, I may be a millionaire now. I'm not going to tell people I'm a millionaire or I'm poor or anything. But if you think I'm a millionaire, leave a comment below. We will have a conversation. If you think I'm poor, leave a comment below. If you think I'm actually better off, you take your pick. But that is not about me. It's about people who are actually suffering in this country. And people who are, the point about benefit, it's about suffering. The point about work, you don't go to work and come back and say, oh, I had such a good time working today. You're working for somebody else. It's hard enough to work for yourself. Who ever said work is easy? If work was easy, the whole family would be working. I mean, those in power would be multimillionaires and multi-billionaires would be working. They don't work because work is hard. They let other people work. They pay other people. They pay other people in benefit and in employment law deliberately to keep them slaves forever, which is a nice thing. It's good. I can be a slave anytime as long as I believe the government is enslaving me in order to improve my livelihood. But improvement has been happening, and wealth is being destroyed. Wealth is being hoarded. It's a form of wickedness. We have worked. The working class have worked for decades to build wealth in Britain, to build wealth across the world under capitalism. See, capitalism was created from the beginning. If you look at the history of an economy, the global economy, you'll find that the first day the economic system was actually announced as a formal infrastructure, it was capitalism. It was the market system. People were selling, they were traders. There's something called the caravan route in Sahara Desert in Africa, North Africa. There was slave trades. These were actually the dynamics of the economy in the past, which is actually has been happening for decades. We have now developed into a modern society, but the violence remains. You see, every time there is problem, there is social injustice, you need to smell a rat. And we need to stand up now, especially the government. The UK government need to stand up to the bullies around Europe, the bullies in America, the bullies in Africa. We, the British people, and our government have decided today to declare emancipation from slavery. Our government is now under siege. The kingdom of the United Kingdom is under siege because there are foreign powers who will leave Britain alone. The British people and their government try to do what is right, but the Europeans are not allowing them, and vice versa. The French, maybe the Germans. So the cycle of evil in modern state is complete. We must actually demand emancipation. The government should emancipate itself of mental, psychological, economic, and military slavery. The government should set itself free from bondage, the bondage of violence, the bondage of oppression, the bondage of fear, also the bondage. These bondages, this injustice, the product of slavery, from the state to the grassroots, is trickling down the economy of wretchedness, the economy of chaos, of violence. I mean, if you are happy, then I am happy. But you see, I'm not talking about happiness, because you cannot be happy if there is no peace. There's no peace for the wicked, because we are the wicked people. We are the ones who are responsible. Our culture has failed. So we must now revisit our culture and liberate ourselves. You know, we should really ask the demons to leave from our minds, from our souls, from our life. Leave us alone. We want to be free. We don't want our children to die on the street. We don't want our children to be on drugs. We don't want funny people to be around our children on the street or at home. I mean, people who are wicked, who are so weird, should really go back to being alien. Humans are humans. If you are an alien, go back to where you come. You go back. You know, the world to send you back to the center. Whoever sends you to come and destroy humanity, we send you back to the center. Who sent you? You alien, the aliens of this age. Who sent you to be with the human species? We send you back to the center. That is it enough? Is enough. The stress. Children are dying on the street. And children are no longer listening to children, to parents. And parents don't listen to the state. The state do not listen to itself, because the state is actually the boss. The state doesn't answer to anybody. It doesn't listen to itself. It is deaf. And the people it rule over are also deaf. That is the cultural failure I've been talking about. Cultural economy should come back. And we need to have respect for ourselves, our respect for our parents, respect for the authorities, respect for the law. The law may be oppressive, but we need it until we get deliverance from crime, from being monsters on the street, murderers. You know, people who are really so insane, they are crazy. We need to actually get out of that condition. We have to change our mind. We have the power. We can think. We can change the way we think. We think peace. And then we start to live, we focus on peace. I have said this before. You watch the rest of the video, leave a comment below. We need to develop a mindset of peace lovers. I look at this material and it inspires me how strange the government has become. I mean, you look at this information, you know if you're a sick person. I speak to clients. I'm an advisor. That's my profession. I'm an advisor, legal advisor, if you like, on social policy. So we'll talk about what I know. I have spoken to people that I know what they say to me. Some people are considering committing suicide because of the frustration, failing to get benefit, failing to take their children to school. Their children are going without food in school. They cannot access doctor. They can't access housing anymore. They cannot access anything. Public transport is becoming so complicated. There's traffic jam. And yet we are being charged congestion charges. Government should build more roads. Should dig tunnels under cities and towns. So that there's traffic. We live in a country where there shouldn't be traffic jam. Put bypass if you like. Invest in electronic vehicles. Put money into it. Instead of going into the space, SpaceX, for example, from Elon Musk and all those people, that's okay if you have the money, but give the money to the government. The government doesn't have to tax multimillionaires or multi-billionaires. No more taxes. Read my lips, says the government. No more taxes. And that is the correct thing. I mean, people should give money freely to the government if there is no taxation. I mean, why should the government tax people if people are clever? The government doesn't tax the rich people. They're too powerful for the government. The government is still taxing poor people, and the money goes back to the rich. The money, tax us and spend money on us. Now you tax us and take the money to the super rich. That is perversion. You see, that is being a pervert. And we don't need those kind of things. We don't need to live like that. Continue watching. So, continue watching. Thank you so much. We are looking at government policy on how the government treat money given to people who are sick. I've already said, going forward, that whether we have sickness benefit, the level of benefit should go up. The process of accessing benefits should be simplified. It is not, it's too complicated. You have to fill in a form. Sometimes you have to fill in an extra form. For example, if you are filling out the form, you, for example, have to tell the government about how you eat, your eating and drinking. Whether you can eat and drink. How sick are you? Are you sick enough to eat and drink? Or you are sick, so sick that you can't eat and drink well? These are some of the questions the government asks people who need help. Are you sick enough to eat and drink, or you are not sick enough to eat and drink? And leave a comment below if you think this kind of question is really important. Are you able to eat and drink? If you are able to eat and drink, then we are not going to give you benefit. The reason the government is behaving like this is because fundamentally the level of benefit is low. If the government was paying £20,000 per annum in benefit for people who need help, it doesn't have to be sickness. It doesn't have to be people who are low income and people who have lost their job, whether they are sick, whether they are not sick. And that is what I think, that's what I've said, to repeat it over and over. Government should increase the level of benefit to 20,000 at least, minimum. 20,000 minimum benefit, and that should be universal. Whether you are a child, whether you are an adult, whether you are elderly in pension, whether you are actually not having a pension. And there should be no extra condition for that. If you are on a state pension, if the government is interested, you are getting a state pension, it is up to the government to decide whether it is means tested or not. But in my opinion, whether the government allow benefit to be means tested or not, it is actually the level of benefit which is of essence. And the second thing of important, to simplify accessing benefit. The condition of accessing benefit should be reduced, should be made the law should be overheld totally. Especially if you are talking about sickness benefit or any benefit at all, the condition, people should not sign for benefit. Because the government, if you are working, the government can get information from the tax office. Because now we live in a world where you cannot work without paying tax. And the government should actually reform employment law and employment policy, so that nobody works in this country who do not pay national insurance contribution. If you pay national insurance contribution, if you pay your tax, then it is the case that you are going to actually, it is the case that you are going to have your record with the tax office, which can provide this information to the Department of Work and Pension, which provide benefits straight. You don't even have to claim benefit. If you are to claim benefit, it has to, the forms has to be simple, one page. Fill it in, and just the administrators and the advisors and the Department of Work and Pension can then contact the authorities. They have the computer, they have the information technology, they have the expertise. Continue watching. Thank you so much. Continue watching. So the conversation here is the money given in the United Kingdom for people who need help. And my comment is that whether you are going to claim benefit or not, it should be simplified. And secondly, the level of benefit should go up, whether it is for sickness or not. Now, the Department of Work and Pension, for example, will ask you to tell them how you eat and drink. So there are actually different parts. For example, the sample answer you are needed to provide is actually answer part 3, eating or drinking. So you are also reminded to finish the form and send the form to the Department of Work and Pension, which is sensible. But the form is too complex. That is why I'm actually talking about it. So you will usually need to fill in an extra form if you get universal credit and you can't work because you are disabled or have a health condition. The form is called the work capability questionnaire or universal credit 50 UC50 form. Watch this video and the rest of the video of this discuss this already there. And if you need information for practical purposes, go to gov.uk in the United Kingdom and also to the public website of Citizen Advice, and all the other information are provided. Go online and this information is there. Also, if you need to get advisors, if you need help, then get access to the professional to help you with advice. Now, another example, you have a situation where you may be suffering from cancer, and probably you are also getting cancer treatment, and you are also required, when you're actually getting cancer treatment, you should fill in these sections if you also have other health conditions or disability. Because if you're having cancer and the treatment you are having also health conditions or disability, you don't have any, if you don't have any other conditions or disabilities, you don't need to fill in these sections. You can go straight to pages, the other pages. And these are some of the samples, some of the information, and find out how to finish and send the form. The same information repeated because you need to be reminded, because there is a deadline to the form. And like I said, the form should be simple enough for anybody to actually fill out. The universal credit is to be filled out online, to be claimed online, and that is also right and wrong, because a lot of people don't have access to computer, and the government is not providing adequate support for those who are claiming benefit. There is actually a type of money which should be given to people who are not working, but the Department of Work and Pension do not give that money to anyone. That money could help people to buy a computer or mobile phone or pay bills. There are some help coming from the local authorities, which are actually very difficult to get. They are really obscure, and you don't normally know they even exist, and most of them are discretionary. That's their worthless support. These are actually excuses from the government, which actually has failed to provide support for the British people, because it has shut down the economy, shut down the public sector, and only this country is being sucked dry by people who are actually multimillionaires or multi-billionaires. And now children are going onto the street to start selling drugs, and these drugs are actually connected. Drug supply is actually connected to multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires drug cartels, which are very violent and evil. Children are being murdered on the street, and they should change. So there are information on how to finish and send the form to the Department of Work and Pension. And you can also check when to return the form. The information is always there. This is some of the things we talk about. The deadline, like I said previously, the deadline for filling out the form and sending it back is 4 weeks. If you send it late, then you might have a problem. So normally when the Department of Work and Pension sends you a form, they give you the exact date. You find out exactly what the deadline is. Normally the advice is that if you're late with your form, with filling out your form, fill it out anyway and send it back to the Department of Work and Pension as soon as possible. Your form might be accepted. It might also be rejected, depending what you tell the Department of Work and Pension. If you don't have good reason why you didn't send it earlier, then you might not really get benefit. When you are claiming benefit, there are things the Department of Work and Pension will want you to tell them. There are information on the guidance on applying for benefit, which actually tells you what you need to check. Checking out, or you need to check to know what the Department of Work and Pension need you to know, what they need to know in terms of your claim. Normally, the Department of Work and Pension want to know how your life is so difficult in terms of your sickness, and then they will then decide whether to help you or not. If your life is so difficult, then they might probably consider helping you, but proving this may be impossible in practice. This is actually the policy, the principle, but in practice, it may be something else. Even if you are about to die, sometimes you may not get benefit if you cannot get accurate information from the doctor to show that you are very, very sick. You will most likely not get, because the problem with the Department of Work and Pension, they don't listen to the doctor. They'll only listen to their heads. There is something called health assessment, which the only thing they listen to is that. And if you, well, it doesn't matter how well you fill out the form, the chances are you're not going to get sickness benefit anyway in practice because of this health assessment. The day the Department of Work and Pension remove the complex process of applying, including filling out the form, which is extremely complex, the day they remove that, the day they also remove the health assessment system, almost anybody applying for sickness benefit will get it, as long as the doctor say they're sick. And that's how I think it should be. Now, some of the problem, people are actually sick, they are suffering. A lot of people do not want to tell people they are sick, but the system of benefit forces the British people to expose themselves, to go, because they need a little money from the government. The government make the British people to go through the embarrassment of answering intimate questions about their sickness. And this should not be the case. This aspect of behavior by the government should stop, because the British people have dignity. They need respect. And I mean, normally people are so sick, adults, the British people who actually need their dignity, they are adults, they should be treated with respect and dignity. They can't do something. They're not able to do something. And they are humiliated by healthcare. They're humiliated by the health system, which failed them. Because the public sector is in trouble, the government doesn't fund the system, the ambulance system is in chaos. You see, these people are actually made to humiliate themselves in front of other people, telling them intimate details of how sick or not so sick they are. And this is the state of affairs we face in this country. And if you need help, you have to really expose yourself to strangers. People, where is the dignity now? And in as much as it is important for you to tell the Department of Work and Pension, even if you're embarrassed, even if you feel humiliated, because if not, you're not going to get the money. And a lot of people don't actually bother. As long as they have help from family, from friends, which is probably what the government wants, because the government do no longer want to take responsibility. The government is fixed, is focused on closing down the public sector, which benefit is part of it. There is nothing wrong with the system. The only system is politics and broken ideological outlook, which should change, because it is completely wrong. People are suffering, and a lot more people are going to die. Families are falling apart financially, but more importantly, perhaps something the government might consider helping is to start bringing families and communities together. Because of broken family and community, children are being murdered on the street. They are going to sell drugs. They are going to involve in crime, gun crime, shooting one another with guns. And this is only the beginning. And the government need to really start financing, not really shutting down the public sector. They should increase the public sector if they want to help people. If they don't, the British people should be aware, and they should know what their options are. Sometimes people are so sick, they cannot really do things for themselves. And the government should actually use the social service system to support people who need help. A lot of the time, families are now turning to friends and family members to help them. And you have to explain it to the Department of Work and Pension that somebody else is helping you. If you can't bathe, sometimes you have to go to your neighbor to come and wash you, to come and bathe you. You are an adult, and you still have to go and tell the Department of Work and Pension that you are relying on your neighbor to wash you, to bathe you when you are actually incontinent. If you maybe you put a mess on yourself because they're so sick. This level of humiliation is actually a very dangerous policy of the British government, which has turned the British people into slaves. They are actually disrespected. They are treated as nothing, simply because they are poor. And this poverty increasingly is being created by the British government, which has failed to bring social justice through the economic processes. The rich have gotten rich, super, super rich. The poor have gotten super, super poor, and they don't even know about it. They are poorly educated about their state of poverty. Let us continue watching. Somehow, the recording process stopped, probably for one reason or another. And I was in the process of saying, instead, I missed one or two things. We are actually been talking about income, which is the essence of this topic. Income actually determine whether or not you're poor. We've been talking about poverty, income from the government, from the private companies. If you work for a living, if you are an investor, if you work for a living, self-employed, small and medium businesses, whatever you do, we talk about income. We talk about income and poverty. And it is the responsibility of private companies to run the economy, because of privatization. Small and medium business and big corporations are the ones who now mainly provide work. You have work, and if it is paid well, you begin the process of getting out of poverty. That's what I've been talking about. That's what I will be talking about under this topic. I maybe talk about financial help from the government, but there are financial help from private companies, from employment. These actually are to do with income. And there are also potentials that could be also support for mortgages. For mortgages are what you get when you want to, the credit you get when you want to buy a property. You buy a property through financial support. How it works, leave a comment below. And what you can say is that it's the credit system which you borrow money if you are actually eligible. The banks, the mortgaging company will deal with that. And if you are given the mortgage, then you are in credit, you pay for your home or for something else. And leave a comment below if you know what other things you can pay mortgage for when you are buying a house, either for rental, buy to let, or whatever. Because one way or the other, you will have to borrow money unless you are a multimillionaire or a multimillionaire to buy a property. Even multimillionaires or multimillionaires by choice can borrow money to buy, either to lend to people who need. The earn interest when they borrow so much at a certain interest, and then they borrow at a higher interest. These are some of the businesses multimillionaires and multimillionaires actually operate. These are something you can actually do research. You can do research if you're a child, if you are an adult, if you are a pensioner. It is your responsibility. This is your country. Know what is happening. We are in the information age. If you don't know what is happening, good. If you don't know what is happening, good. If you know what is happening, it's good. If you do research, it's good. If you don't, it's good. It's free country. I say, if you have information, then you are more effective as a person, because things are changing very quickly. Public sector is closing down rapidly. That's why there is no funding. The only way to shut down the public sector is to stop funding it. And that's exactly what the government is doing in the UK and across the globe. The closure of the public sector cannot happen unless public funding stops. And that is what's happening. When you go to the hospital, you have to wait forever, and getting worse, because it is a political agenda to shut the public sector down. And I have been saying this, the information is everywhere. It is actually on the government website. It is, if you follow British politics, if you go to BBC Parliament, there are debates. The government wanting small government, the government wanting the small government, they have excuses, all sorts of excuses, because they don't want to tell British people probably the truth, for one reason or another. But you see, there comes a time when the truth needs to be told, because our lives is on the line. I mean, if you don't know the truth, that's your problem. And you value your life, that's your problem. If you don't value your life, that is your problem. Or your benefit, depending how you look at it. Immigrants, now because of election, the government is talking about in America, in Europe, in America and in the UK, we are due for election. So now, especially the conservative parties are focusing on issues with migration, because migration is associated with racism. Racism is everywhere. Politicians actually use the race card to divide the country and rule over the country, which is a form of evil. The British people have a choice. Listen to what the government says about the boat people. I mean, deporting the British people to Rwanda is not a solution to the British problem. You should have smelled a rat when the government claiming to get the British people out of Europe, Brexit. And the British people thought once Brexit is accomplished, there is going to be money for the NHS, for education, for housing. The government did not do that. Now the government is talking about COVID-19. The government is talking about the war in Ukraine. The government is going to be talking about everything except building houses for the British people, except building hospitals, recruiting doctors, paying people well. Medical doctors were on strike because of low pay. It's not because of trade union. Trade union is already dead. Tony Blair, Prime Minister Tony Blair, destroyed the trade union when the Labour Party, New Labour, they actually amended the Labour Party's constitution. There is something called Clause 4 of the trade union law with the Labour Party. So when the Labour Party destroyed, it was actually Tony Blair and New Labour which destroyed the trade union. Trade union is already dead. What is left is actually a residue, is symbolic, is consistent with capitalism, is consistent with an extreme view, which is actually a global phenomenon. It's a right-wing movement across the globe, which is set to concentrate wealth in the hands of the few and to the exclusion of the majority of the world population. It's a mistake. It's actually a form of insanity. It is going to kill the global. It's going to wipe humanity out of the world. I mean, humanity are going to be wiped off the face of the earth because of the economic violence, because of the social injustice and violence. That is what is going to happen. And the poor will die first, but the rich will die last. So we are facing the extinction of a species because of our behavior, because of our cultural failure. We do not know peace. Read the history books. How much wars have we fought at sea, in the air, on land, underground? Today, there are actually activities underground. We do not know what it is. There are activities underground. We don't know what it is. Do a research. You take responsibility for yourself. There is hope. If there was no hope, I wasn't going to talk, because I speak because there's hope. We have the power to change the course of history. We have the power to change today, to go from violence to peace, fighting wars to peace. That is what we can do. We decide to fight, we can decide to stop the war. Economic war, technological war, medical, educational. There is something called deschooling. Schools are being shut down. Because if people are ignorant, you can rule over them. The law, which I now look at, is so complex that nobody can claim benefit without advice, professional advice. That is not necessary, because benefit is a source of income to the British people. With the rise of the machine, technology is taking jobs away. We are going to have less, not more work. And then if the government is shutting down the public sector, who is going to help? No one. So, with the rise of the machine, you're losing your job. You don't have money. You should figure out how you're going to survive. And this is the message. Is what I'm talking about. If you comment below, subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. And if you comment below, click notification bell, click like. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.